everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. Merry Christmas and hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving and are enjoying your Black Friday weekend, I guess it's called now. And we are here to talk about two of the movies from last weekend that aired on Hallmark Channel and Hallmark Mystery. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I am film critic Rachel and Kaycee's here.
Hey guys!
Yeah. How are you doing?
This whole week is just crazy trying to get everything done. And then my daughter's like, I want to make cornbread muffins for Thanksgiving. So let's go do that. And running around with family and all the
Yeah.
fun things. So,
I'm with I love there's few things I love more than like really good cornbread.
oh, yes.
I'm with your daughter there. I had to be
Yes. Well, it's a new recipe. So fingers crossed that it's
okay.
actually good.
It's hard to screw up. It really is. It can be a
Yeah.
little dry, but that's about it. It's
Yeah,
just so
that's
good.
true.
So you all over at Deliver Me a Podcast have been covering a bunch of the Christmas movies this season on your Insta story and other stuff. It seems like
Yep.
a fun new thing y'all are trying to do more
Yeah,
this year.
yeah. I think some of us need some motivation and Christmas joy because I will say the last few years have been really crazy.
Yeah.
So we basically did a fantasy Hallmark draft, but we only did 27 movies because
Okay.
we don't have time. So although
Yeah.
this year I will say I've been watching all of them, which
Uh-huh.
it's been several years since I've been able to actually watch them all. But yeah, it's been fun. I've been scoring everything that I've watched, and like, yeah, this is good. This year feels really fresh with the movies too, so I think that also helps.
Well, how do you feel as a whole of the season? How do you think it's been?
Um, yeah, I feel like it's been pretty solid. There's only been a couple, I mean, as of right now, that I can think of that were complete flops.
Hmm.
But it's either been like, on par with everything else, like your average 3 out of 5 star rating, and then you've got like a grouping that's pretty good, and then you've got like very few that are just terrible.
Yeah. Even the ones that have been terrible have been kind of bonkers terrible. So they're like entertaining on a
Right,
certain level to be like, what is happening with this
right,
movie?
right. Like Confessions of a Christmas
Yeah.
Letter. I didn't love it, but I'm like, I
Oops.
I get it. Like I get the whole bonkersness, and I can't hate it because of the bonkersness. I
Yeah.
was just confused. So I mean, even that one I rated fairly decently, I think. I think I
Yeah.
gave it like basically a 3 out of 5.
Yeah. It's just I was
Um,
saying, like most Hallmark movies that are bad are just boring. They're not
yeah,
like bad. They're not the kind
yeah,
of movies that you watch that are like Mystery Science Theater where you're like, this is ridiculous. This is why are people behaving this way? Like
right,
they're not that kind of bad usually.
right.
But for me, Confessions of a Christmas Letter and Trivia at St. Nick's, those were both like when it's St. Nick's, when she's comparing dark matter to Santa, I lost it.
Yeah, that one
I
was
was
wild
like,
too. That one and that one I had to sit on that one for a minute because I'm like, y'all are driving me crazy. But then when I took a step back, I'm like, this is actually a fun movie, as ridiculous as these
yeah,
characters are. But
the ironic
mhm.
pleasure is there in spades, I think, in that one.
Right, right. And a lot of the movies too, I'm like, hashtag for the plot. Like it's for the plot. Like they have to be
Yeah,
ridiculous for the plot. Like it has to work. So
right.
um yeah.
Well, so I feel kind of bad because the four movies this weekend, we ended up splitting it up, and I gave the two movie. I mean I just divided it up without really thinking about it. Of course, I haven't seen the movie, so how would I know? But I kind of feel like I gave both of the really strong ones to the other episode and the weaker ones to this episode. And then I feel kind of bad because I never like dogpiling on, I like to keep
Yeah.
it pretty positive. And if I had known, I would have switched it
Just
up.
split it.
Yeah. But you did you get to watch Christmas Call and Wiser Men?
Oh, so I definitely watched Wiser. And then the Christmas on Call, I'm still working through it.
Okay.
I need to finish it. It's just like things have been so crazy. So I'm like
Mm.
watching it at night and I'm like falling asleep. but I'm falling asleep because I'm tired, not because it's
Right.
boring. But so far, I mean, I really like both the Christmas on Call so far. I'm about halfway
Yeah.
through. I mean,
It was
Hawaii
very
was fine.
surprising to me. It was way
Yeah.
better than I expected.
Yeah, because they've got more of an ensemble cast with that one, it seems. There's more going
Yeah.
on. So that's pretty fun.
Uh-huh.
And then
And
Wiser Men, I mean, what's there to say? That
I
hasn't
had the
been
hot
said.
take that I think it's a little bit better than the first one. Because
Really?
yes, I know,
Yeah.
surprising because the first one you had to, I mean, it was so ridiculous that they didn't
Hmm.
commit to the fact that this would have, the only thing that made sense was that it was his baby, Andrew Walker's baby.
Right.
Like, there's no reason that somebody would drop off their baby to
Right.
total strangers and that they wouldn't immediately turn that baby in to social services and that like it was just it didn't make any sense, whereas like
Hmm.
everything in this one was like pretty logical. So like
Right.
that for me, like if that makes it a little bit better because it had all the other ingredients that the first one
Hmm.
had.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I did after Three Wise Men and a Baby came out the first time, I went back and watched the original.
Uh-huh.
And so that also kind of helped put everything in
Yeah.
context for me because I'd never seen it. But yeah, I mean, I can see where you're coming from. And, you know, somebody asked me that same question. For me, it was just hard because it just felt like a continuation. So I'm like, I don't know. I can't say whether or not
Yeah, I can
which one
see
is
that.
better, you know? So that was
Yeah.
just how I saw it.
It was fun. It's a fun little series if they keep doing them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
It's nice.
Ho, ho, ho! We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Today we're talking about a novel Noel and To Have and To Holiday. The first one, novel Noel. This is on the 21st on Mystery, Miracles of Christmas, and it's Julie Gonzalo and Brendan Penny. And it's a successful New York City book editor who is losing touch with her passion after a few setbacks this year. Learned she was chosen to run a bookstore in the small town of St. Ives for the month of December. While realizing a childhood dream, but butting heads with the handsome son of the bookstore owners, she comes to realize that her love for bringing out the creativity of others is still her true calling, and untapped talent can be found anywhere, even in the writings of a cranky, business-minded man, especially at Christmas. So going into this, there were a couple things that were very distracting to me, and I think is
Hmm.
probably unique to me. So St. Ives a is a town in England. So the whole time I was thinking she's going to England. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense why she would like that would make it feel like a little bit special. Like, oh, I'll run
Hmm.
and then the fact that there was the pub, but then I'm like, why does nobody have an English accent? What is
Right.
going on except for at the pub there's like one person? Why do they have British flags in the pub? Like if you were in a if you were actually in England, they don't just have like
Right.
it's not like it's just that's their country,
Hmm.
they would have like, not in the way it was in the pub,
Right.
probably. And so I was just really confused, and I still do not understand why would anybody want to get on a list to run this bookstore. It doesn't make sense. Like, yes, if
Hmm.
it was again, if it was in St. Ives and people like was in like some kind of, there's this place in Paris. I've never been to Paris, so I've never been, but there's this Shakespeare and Company bookstore that's really famous in Paris. Okay, that makes sense. Like that's an iconic bookstore, maybe the most famous bookstore in the world. I can understand being on a waiting list to want to work there for a month. That would make sense. Why would anybody, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I just don't understand, like, the premise going into this. It didn't make any sense to me. And then her, like, lying about who she is made no sense to me. And
like, that was weird.
It was just, so I was really distracted by it. And then I'm like, oh, I saw the St. Ives, Maine, which isn't a real place. Because I'm like literally Googling St. Ives, New England. Where is this place? And then nothing. All I got was like St. Ives lotion. That was all I got. I'm like so confused. And so all of that was working against the movie for me because I was distracted by all of that. And I still don't understand why she would want to be manual labor for this like generic bookstore in some town in Maine. It makes no sense. But like the parts about the bingo, this movie should have been called Christmas Bingo because that part of it was really cute.
Yeah. I definitely agree. Now, I didn't make the connection that it should have been a special place, but that makes total sense. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever for the plot. And so, and also St. Ives lotion, that was the other thing that I kept thinking of. So that was why I was distracted by it. But yeah, it didn't make any sense as to why she needed to go to this place. They didn't make it a special.
Why people would be waiting in line.
Right. To run this bookstore. It was just odd. But you know what? Hashtag for the plot. And I agree. The bingo portion of it, like that was really sweet. Especially the reasons behind it and us like kind of following the narrative there. But yeah, it did feel also like that was kind of cast aside a little bit too for me because there was so much focus on bookstore and Brendan Penny's character and he's losing the bookstore. Oh no. Like I just felt like there was just too much of that going on. And then all of a sudden at the end, when they're talking about the friend, I was like, wait, hold on. It was hard to remember everything.
I think what they should have done is, I don't know, have some connection with the friend and the bookstore.
Yes.
If like her friend had worked there maybe in college or something like that, or there was just something, she always talked about this bookstore and I need a break, so I'm going to go up to Maine. And then that would have like brought everything full circle.
Yeah, for sure. Like, or it was a special summer, like winter vacation that her friend went to every year with her family or some connection, because it did feel like a throwaway,
Yeah.
So,
and they could have also, like, if it's Christmas bingo and you're going to have one of them be, one of them being kissing under mistletoe, you should have had her say bingo.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Come on, why do we have to think of these things?
Right, they should hire us already.
And we're available. I mean, and I also think it would have been cute if both of them were playing the bingo.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so then he had his own. Oh, I just got that check off. That square. That would be really cute.
That would have been
flirty.
Fun. Yeah.
As it was, this was like, really the bingo part was the only thing that made this movie special. Everything else was like totally generic.
It definitely felt generic.
Yeah. I guess it's called The Book Cabinet is the name of this bookstore. And one interesting thing is that when You've Got Mail came out late 90s, the super bookstores were taking out the independent bookstores. But we've actually kind of seen a flip in the last, I don't have statistics and stuff, but so maybe this is anecdotal, but but you've seen Borders go out, you've seen Barnes and Noble much less than it used to be, and actually sort of the niche bookstore has had kind of a bit of a resurgence, which is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's that small town cozy vibe. You get to know where everybody knows your name type of idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely for sure, because like we've got a few bookstores here that are locally owned that people just love. Like it's the ambiance compared to say Books a Million or something.
Yeah. So there's a place here in Salt Lake called the Love Bound Library, and I'm gonna we're definitely gonna have them eventually on the podcast because they're delightful. But the whole thing is it's just romance books.
Fun.
It's just so fun, and everything has just like it's got like this cute little space for you to hang out. And they have events, and you're really creating a community.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And you see that now. And so it's an interesting thing that they and it would have also they could have done might have been fun if they had either made it more of a romance destination like Love Bound Library, or made it more of a Christmas bookstore destination in some way. That might have been fun. And she comes in, and so it starts out she's going to take a month break because she's just not reading the market right. And she's like got burnout and everything. And then she finds out, oh, I got this incredible internship for a month long. It's been in there for like a decade, long time at the book cabinet. And she's going to go and work there. And then when she first arrives, he tries to sell her wine. And she's just like, oh, what is this? Is this a bookstore? Is this a wine cafe? And I'm like, I pretty much everywhere has to be like, yes, you can't be everything, but like you have to bring people into your space.
Right. Like, yeah. And that does well. I mean, you have books and coffee. So why not books and wine? Like that's nothing.
It makes
novel, like
total sense.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not like it's a library. And even libraries are multitasking spaces these days.
Oh, for sure.
So I just felt like, oh, she's coming off kind of bratty.
Yeah.
You can see why he's sort of turned off at the beginning. This sort of judgy person. And then we find out about the Christmas bingo is when that's introduced. And I hear my notes, how come nobody has a British accent? Like, I was so
You're still thinking we're going to England.
So there's the debate of cider versus hot chocolate. Where do you stand?
Oh, hot chocolate. I'm a hot chocolate girl.
Yeah, I love both. I really do. But yeah, I think I probably hot chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
So they have like a Christmas book drive. And then his parents want to sell the store, and he has like mixed feelings about it, about doing it, but it's kind of weighing him down. And I guess that was a little bit non-generic about the movie, is that it wasn't like a clean cut, like selling is evil. There's like a little more nuanced as far as that. So that was good. So she starts, and this when the movie started kind of working for me, is like basically this whole section where she's checking off the different parts of the bingo.
Right.
Like when she wears that cute elf outfit, that was adorable.
Right. Yeah, that was cute.
That was fun. They go to the Christmas market. I was a little bit confused. Who's manning the store?
Right.
They're both going.
She's going on her lunch break, small town, closed from 12 to 2.
And so he lets her read his first chapter. And that's definitely like a big moment for him. And he doesn't think that he can do it. I'm just doing it for fun. So we get this sort of back and forth with, I mean, she has the red pen out. I mean, she's marking that thing up a lot.
Oh, yeah. But she loved it.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Loved it. Yeah. He's never seen White Christmas. Do you have a big Christmas movie blind spot? Like a classic you haven't seen?
Have I even seen White Christmas? To be honest with you, like, White Christmas. No, I don't know. I don't know if I've seen White Christmas actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. Some of the dance numbers go on
Hmm.
exorbitantly long. And so
Yeah.
I just let's fast forward. Let's move on.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's enjoyable. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I
I don't
mean, I
yeah.
was I was gonna say there's a few that apparently fun kid ones like Arthur Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Never seen that, and
That one's
Claus.
good.
Never seen that
Which one?
either. Claus.
Oh, that one's good too.
Yeah, the one. Yeah, we don't have Netflix, so it's part of the reason why I haven't seen them.
Oh.
But we might add the subscription for the month of December because last night my husband's like looking through. He's like, "What do we not watch?" And I'm like, "We literally
Oh.
watched the same ones: the Home Alone, Santa Claus with Tim Allen,
Yeah.
Elf, like all of the like 90s and 2000s things. It's a Wonderful Life, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you should just for the month of December because then you can watch Hot Frosty.
That's true.
Yeah, you need to.
Which that was a head turning conversation at work as an aside. My coworker who's a female said, "Have you seen Hot Frosty?" And our male coworker between us was like, "What did you just say?" No, 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 don't go there.
It's funny.
Yeah. Anyways.
It's pretty fun. It's pretty
Yeah.
fun. So yeah, then yeah, and Klaus is great.
Hmm.
And I actually I was just watching the new Lindsay Lohan one, and it's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
decent.
Yeah.
Pretty decent. So anyway, let's see here. Where am I? But yeah, he's never seen White Christmas, and she loves it. So they do the rewrites, and he said, she says the romance isn't working. Love doesn't change the protagonist in any meaningful way,
Mm.
which I think is interesting.
Hmm.
I don't know if I need love to change the protagonist in a meaningful way. Um, because I mean, it depends on how old. I don't know. I just feel like at a certain point, you are who you are.
Yeah.
Falling in love is going to change. I mean, it will change me, but not in like a meaningful way.
Yeah. Or
Like I
maybe it
am
just
who I
meant that,
am, no matter who I'm in love with.
yeah. Or maybe she meant it just wasn't deep enough for the story,
Hmm.
you
Yeah,
know?
that was interesting.
Hmm.
And then they go to the sing along, and then let's see here. So this is where I finally showed the sign about it being in Maine. I was like, it's. So so they make goals for the New Year's with the candles. That was a different kind of scene. I liked
Yeah.
that.
I did
That
like
was
the candle scene with all their friends and stuff.
uh-huh. That was nice. And then I wrote down this feels really platonic. And
Hmm.
I kind of agree. Like that I would have been fine with them just being work associates.
Hmm.
And her
Yeah.
getting her group back and him like writing, and that would have been fine for me.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it was a very slow burn for sure. And then I also felt like they had good chemistry. I just feel like we could have gotten more from them, you
See,
know?
that's why I think if he had been also doing a bingo, then it would have been this like tit
Yeah.
for tat, a little flirty, a little like, and there just
Hmm.
wasn't like enough of that.
Yeah, there wasn't enough banter or like
Yeah.
the teasing little, or even like the push
Yeah.
and pull, you got they're at all, you've seen those movies where they're at odds, and then you've got like a little bit of like spice going on here,
Yeah.
but
But
it
yeah, you
was,
want like little moments of touch. Oh, our hands almost hit a
yeah,
touch. And it's like a little flirty, a little
yeah,
fun. This was like, let's work on this book.
yeah, it was lacking in that regard, but they had so much potential.
Yeah, they did. So then they exchange gifts and watch White Christmas, and she gets the book necklace
Hmm.
thing, which was cute.
Yeah, that was very cute. That was very cute.
And her gift to him is that she's going to publish his book.
Yeah.
So, and that's when we get a kiss, and it turns out her parents are in town.
Yeah.
And that's when we get the big reveal that Kimberly, her friend, had died the
Mhm.
year before, and that she'd made the bingo game.
Yeah.
So, and then he says, I'm not going to stay running the store. And the last box on the bingo is kiss someone under the mistletoe. And so there we
Yeah.
go.
3 months later.
Yeah, 3 months later, they're posting Sawyer's book and she sees his photo. You still miss him, don't you?
That was a good photo of Brendan Penny, though.
It was good. Yeah.
That was a good one. I was like, oh, yeah, I see you.
I can write anywhere, but I want to write wherever you are.
There it is.
Pretty good.
There it is.
But we got to complete the final challenge, and that's when they kiss on the mistletoe.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun. So yeah, this one, I'd probably give it like a 2.75, maybe a 3.
Yeah, I would say 3 out of 5.
Yeah. Like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's author Nan Reinhardt and her new book, Made for Mistletoe. If you don't know author Nan Reinhardt's little town in the hills of Indiana, Christmas is the best time to discover her River's Edge books, where 5 of the novels are holiday romances, including her latest release, Made for Mistletoe. With 4 series, 13 books, 5 more on the way, she has an incredible library. NN Light's Book Heaven says of Nan's latest holiday romance, Nan Reinhardt is the queen of heartwarming small town romances, especially when it's Christmas time. This romance is all about the magic of Christmas and taking a chance on love. If you're like me and adore Hallmark holiday romances, you have to read Made for Mistletoe. Made for Mistletoe is a holiday romance with plenty of emotion. This story should make for a great Hallmark movie. Take my advice and pick up Made for Mistletoe today. It'll delight all of your senses. Come for the love stories, stay for the town. Welcome home to Christmas in River's Edge. Make sure you check out Nan Reinhardt's new book, Made for Mistletoe, wherever you purchase your holiday books, or you can use the affiliate link below. That's Made for Mistletoe. Then we have To Have and To Holiday. This is on the 24th. This stars Madeline Arthur and Robert Bazzoki. When Celeste gets engaged to Jason after just a few months of dating, her father and the couple's would-be officiant, Pastor Mark, insists on putting them through a pre-wedding boot camp filled with Christmas-themed challenges. As the couple grows stronger through the festive activities, Celeste considers following her dreams in the fashion industry. Meanwhile, Pastor Mark learns to trust his daughter's choices, leading to a heartwarming holiday season for the whole family. So overall, what did you think about this one?
So for our little deliver me challenge thing, I didn't have time to prepare. Okay. I'm like looking through the names of the actors. I'm picking them based off of actors. And then there got to a point where I couldn't do that anymore. So I'm like looking at the summaries really fast, right? And so I saw this one, I saw Wedding Boot Camp, and I thought of Baby Boot Camp and like the Wedding Boot Camp from Perfect Bride, Baby Boot Camp from the other Kevin one that he did like 10 years ago. Like, oh, those were kind of fun and quirky and bonkers. And then I saw the previews and I was like, oh crap, this one's probably an acquisition, which means my scores are going to be like really low for this movie too, because Team Kaycee is not doing well right now. And so I really went into it with that mindset. And then I watched it. I was like, okay, if this were on, say, like Up TV or GAF, I would actually like the movie. It didn't feel like it had the Hallmark quality to it, like unlike some of the others. But like it wasn't a perfect movie. There were things that I wish it had more of. I wish it had more boot campy stuff. There are lots of problems with this relationship with the 3 months thing. We can get into that later. But I mean, overall, I was entertained. I wasn't bored. But also it was hard for me too, because I was like, oh, if I'm looking at it from like a different network's perspective, I would actually like, because I'm comparing this movie to others on that same network, whereas comparing this to Hallmark, like, so that's kind of where I felt.
Yeah, I mean, I got warnings before this movie, and they were like, "You're gonna hate it," because people know that I normally don't like stressful wedding movies, or
oh yeah,
not for me.
That's true.
But I do have to say that aspect didn't bother me that much, because most of the stress of the wedding was from her dad.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
with all of this, she wasn't really that demanding.
No.
She
And
just wanted to get married in the church that she grew up in and by her dad. Like,
right.
she wasn't like a high maintenance bride, really.
Yeah. It really felt like low budget Father of the Bride, but make it
Yeah.
Hallmark at Christmas to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Except for like, it's like low budget Father of the Bride, but with like him doing all, like in Father of the Bride, it's like everyone else is doing all
Yeah. And
the
he's like
things, and he's like,
watching.
where he's the one being the sort of the
Mm-hmm.
proactive one. In this, it wasn't my favorite, but like I guess I had been so warned that I did not hate it as much as I thought I would. But I mean, it definitely has the lower budget feel of an
Mm-hmm.
acquisition. Somebody, after we did the preview, somebody was like commenting, "Oh, it's not an acquisition to have into holiday." So who knows?
Oh.
But it definitely feels like an acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely feels like a lower budget
Mm-hmm.
film. And I mean, that's fine with me. One of my favorite movies, Christmas movies, is Snowman's, and that was for an
Mm-hmm.
Ion. That was lower budget. So it doesn't really matter,
Right.
if the script is good. I love Santa's Got Style, and that one's from
Mm-hmm.
TV. So there's some really good ones. But anyway, but this one, it's an interesting movie. So we'll dive in. But she wants to be like the big designer,
Mm-hmm.
and and this apartment that he supposedly lives in New York
Okay.
City, like, are you
Yeah, what
kidding
the
me?
heck?
Like I forgot what his job is,
He's
but
marketing. They don't make that much,
marketing. Okay,
especially
marketing.
not right off the bat.
This is like what, $30 million apartment in New York
Yeah,
City, like a giant panel of windows on the
right. I was
thing,
like, are you?
like a huge.
I was so confused when she walked in, and I'm like, wait, is he a trust fund baby? Like,
Yeah,
what is happening right
super
now?
rich.
Like, what in New York?
Yeah.
No.
Like in reality, if he was in marketing, he would like maybe have a 1 bedroom
Oh yeah,
a studio apartment in like the Bronx, not in.
yeah, yeah. Not
Yeah.
on the Upper East Side.
Yeah.
I mean,
But anyway, so I was like, oh, he's really wealthy. So he's gonna meet her parents. There's this big Christmas festival at the church. Her ex is there. They kind of set that up as this sort of dynamic. And I thought they were going to do even more with that, like maybe make
Mhm.
her sort of actually really tempted. They never really did,
No.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't really do a whole lot with the ex.
Yeah, and I didn't love that either, because I'm like, as soon as they introduced the ex, I'm like, oh great, we're gonna have oh my gosh, you lied to me. I saw you hugging the boy, and
Yeah,
which we kind of
yeah,
did have a little bit of that, but I was like, oh gosh, here we go.
but not much at
No.
all. And so the dad, this is similar to Father's Bride. He basically still sees her as this little girl, like you see in Father's
Mm-hmm.
Bride.
Yeah.
That he still sees her as a little girl. You get this whole like lightning round of questions. He's very suspect of the fact they've only been dating for 3 months, which fair enough. I mean, that is pretty quick.
I mean, oh, okay, like here's the other thing too. It's not like they're 30 or 40, they're 24 or 25, 26. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, like, you know what? I
Yeah.
got married really young. I was like a week from my 22nd birthday. That was really young, guys. That was really young. But like as a parent now, yeah, I'd be a little sus of some dude wanting to marry my daughter 3 months after they met. Like,
Yeah.
especially that young. Like, I don't know. It's kind of
Like
like,
sometimes I
all right,
totally get it when and it works out and that's great. But
sure.
like to
I'm
be
a skeptic.
to be concerned is completely understandable.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
But then the mom's all for it too. She's like, yay.
Yeah.
Like,
So that was interesting. The thing that I felt like they could have done a better job with the motivation, the fact that almost the only motivation was her wanting to get married in this church. Like I feel
mhm.
like that's not enough.
No, and then she didn't even get married in that church to be like
Yeah,
in the end.
right.
Like,
I feel like they needed something like he's getting deployed or something.
yeah,
Like something
yes.
that's more like real motivation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
So then we have like he hadn't even proposed at this time, but then he proposed so they could get married in the church. Again, seemed weak. And then this when her ex shows up at the house with flowers. So that was awkward. And the other thing I thought was a little bit strange is they seem to be doing all this planning without like any recognition for his parents or family or wanting to be involved in this really at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're planning a wedding in 10 days. The parents are like, who knows where? Like, gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, like his parents show up, right? At the end.
Yeah, they do show
Yeah.
up at the end.
So they show up, but like I would think that they would want to be like involved a little bit,
sure.
you know?
Yeah.
So then we have the marriage boot camp kind of going. And every good relationship requires three things: eye contact, honesty, and togetherness. What do you feel?
So the boot camp thing, I wish there were more. I actually like that concept because I thought it was like the whole driving and hitting the snowman thing. That was like communication. Communication's really key. And I felt like that was a fun little element. If you're gonna do it for the plot, like that was a fun element. But I wish they had more of those ridiculous challenges to make it a little lighter, a little more bonkers. Like we're gonna let's lean in all the way, not we're going to do a challenge here or there and then call it a day. I could have used more of the boot campy stuff. And then, some of the others, but it was,
yeah, like the boot camp stuff was pretty fun. I agree. The snowman, that was pretty enjoyable. The three things being eye contact, honesty, and togetherness, that was somewhat triggering because I have what's called a strabismus where I have a wandering eye. So I'm like, what are you saying? Rude. So they haven't had like some pretty key conversations. They've never talked about how many kids they want to have. They never want to, the things like that, which is problem.
Yeah. That's kind of a big deal. You kind of need to know these things before you get married.
Yeah, that's I did think it was funny when they're building the gingerbread house, even though it was completely ridiculous that they could have done all that in the time allotted, but who cares?
Yeah.
But that idea of like, would they make the same choices of the design of it and the things? I think that was pretty fun.
Yeah, that was fun. And actually some of those challenges, like the gingerbread house one and the driving thing, I was like, that would have been helpful for me and my husband. I mean, it was a very creative way to like do something, but also like learning the communication styles of your significant other or whatever. Because it did bring out some important things, but again, I feel like we could have leaned more into some of those challenges, like some of those quirky little activities for the plot, of course. So
they have this whole scene of them going wedding dress shopping, and they evidently have no wedding dresses in this entire town. And she's like a tiny thing. She could fit into like any dress.
Yeah.
It's not like she has like an unusual shape or a little, that would be tricky to find a dress for.
Right. Right. Yeah, that one was odd too. Like
I think what would have been fun is if she'd end up wearing her mom's dress.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like, we can't find any dresses in this entire town, but here.
Yeah, that's true. But her mom got married at City Hall, so did she even have a dress?
Oh yeah.
But
that could have been fun. But she's in this like blue dress.
Yeah. Yeah, that was odd because I'm like, Cinderella, like what is happening?
Now she says, I love cheesecake because you love it, which I thought was an interesting moment because I think it's like fine to sort of have almost like nostalgia for something because it reminds you of the other person or they love it and you have
Sure.
those memories. Fine. But I don't know. You just never want to get like lost in a relationship. You still have your own tastes and your
Oh,
own,
yeah.
what you like and what don't like. And it kind of reminds me of in Runaway Bride, that scene where she's like, okay, I'm gonna try all the eggs and like figure out because she's just been like, well, I like those eggs that you picked, and I liked those, and I like whoever she's with, she just likes whatever kind of eggs they like.
Yeah.
And so finally she's like, okay, I'm gonna try all the eggs at the diner and decide what I like.
Yeah.
And I think that's important in
Yeah.
life. Like,
Yeah, for sure. Don't like something just because somebody else does.
yeah, like you can't do that with everything. Some things is
Right.
like, oh, I don't care. I'm not emotionally invested
Right.
in the
Right.
cheesecake. That's fine.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Back and forth about about the lighting of the trees and the Christmas lights and stuff. And Jason's like, I know a light guy.
Yeah. Of course he
Like,
does.
I don't need your help. So there's back and forth, back and forth. They go to the bar and they have virgin eggnogs.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, we're stopping you at 2, which made me laugh. Getting a little tipsy there.
Yeah.
Too much milk, I guess.
Yeah.
That was funny to me.
Yeah.
Only on Hallmark.
Right. Right.
The over serving of eggnog.
Yes.
Virgin eggnog.
Yes. At a bar.
Oh, so
where your pastor is. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to feel this in the morning.
Oh,
That was funny. So then so he wants to like bring the pastor and the family into New York City. He wants to show them the Rockettes and everything. And he admits at one point that he lost $500 at the track. They're like sharing all their secrets.
Yeah.
And she can't think of a single thing.
Yeah.
They've only been dating for 3 months. You can't think of a single thing
that he doesn't know. Yeah, that one was, yeah. But again, also too, it's like, all right, well then, like, are you actually ready to be married? Like, I don't know. Some of that stuff, I'm like,
And they say embarrassment isn't the only part of marriage, but it certainly builds character.
Fair.
Yeah. So then they dress up as Mr. and Mrs. Claus, and that was kind of fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
It was cute.
And we find out his parents also got married very fast. So I guess that's why. And there's a whole like marriage game at the pub.
Oh yeah, that was
they
fun.
win.
Yeah.
And then we get the call from the lady in New York City. I love your portfolio. You're amazing.
Because of course.
So she makes the offer, and he's like, "Wow, we should stay here. We could get a bigger place, even though you live in a mansion in New York City."
Why are you gonna get a bigger place in New York City? Like,
yeah.
even if he had a tiny studio apartment, where are you gonna do that? You're gonna have to go out of the city.
And so then her dad's like all upset, and then her ex talks to her, and they have this hug, and then Jason sees it, And he's the,
Yeah,
yeah,
this whole ending portion. So when the dad got mad, I was kind of like, "Are you serious?" Like as soon as when she said, "Oh, I'm gonna hook my phone up to Bluetooth," I was like, "There it is. He's gonna overhear a conversation." Sure enough, it happened. Then the dad got mad, and I'm like, "Okay, there's no reason to be mad over this. Like it's your daughter's a grown adult. I understand the whole like, oh, I see you as my little girl and blah blah blah. Like it was just too much for me. Like
yeah.
his being upset. I was like, that's a little over the top at this point.
This movie just
Um
isn't very cozy. It's just not like, and I think if you're going to try this approach, like it has to be really funny. And like Greek Wedding and Father of the Bride work because they're
mhm.
hilarious and you're
Yeah,
laughing your head off. It was
yeah.
not on that level. There were some laughs. Otherwise, so
Right.
it just ends up feeling like, what?
Yeah, it was like we needed see that's what I meant by like leaning more into the little boot camp stuff. Like they
Yeah,
could have
I agree.
honestly they could have what they could have done is they could have ignored that whole plot line about her getting that job and just leaned into the crazy like the angry in-law Thanksgiving because like actually that was kind of a fun thing for me because
Yeah,
they're acting because you gotta how do you work under pressure, how do you communicate when you've got guests that are disgruntled and this that and the other, and I feel like that is a good practice.
yeah,
And I feel like they could have really leaned into that, and maybe like both sets of parents could have just gone like escalated more and more and more, so that was just
yeah,
completely bonkers. And maybe that's when the couple, like the Celeste and the fiance, maybe they like fall apart. They're just like, oh my gosh, I just can't deal with this, and then kind of go from there. And then maybe dad comes in and it's like, no, like listen, this was just for fun, or like you're just this is part of boot camp, like don't take this
yeah.
so seriously.
Well,
And
then I
then
think that also like not having that compelling of a motivation of why
yeah,
they have to be married
married,
now,
yeah,
that also just like it that impacted everything, the
yeah,
comedy, the drama, the everything,
yeah,
because it's just kind of like, what? This is making no
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if he was getting deployed, they had to get married in order for her to have housing
right.
and there are things to happen, and then that just make everything like more
The stakes
emotional
are
and more,
higher.
and then that makes the funny more funny. It makes
Hmm.
everything
Yeah, yeah,
better. Yeah,
definitely, for sure. It was almost like it really reminded me of when Ross and Emily got married on Friends,
yeah,
and she's like, I have to get married at my church, and then they're like, they're already bulldozing it, what are we gonna do? So
yeah,
it did give me a little bit of that vibe in that regard, but yeah, it didn't hit for this movie
yeah.
because
And
there were no
also
stakes.
I just didn't think those two had any chemistry at all.
Oh
Like,
really? I like
no,
them together.
I did not feel like they both seem like decent actors, but I don't know. I just didn't feel much between
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
And like I was more, I guess, entertained again by the boot camp sequences with her and her dad than I
Hmm.
was like really swooned over by the romance.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
I
interesting.
like them together.
Hmm.
I've because and I think for me it's because I've seen other movies where we've got some of these maybe younger or lesser known, and I'm kind of like, "Ugh." So this one worked for me.
Yeah, she was in that like three, what is it, three
The
beds,
she was
two,
the
yeah,
ghost,
ghost,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, in that one. And so then she says, I could so they make so then there's this fire, and there's, well, no, there's snow. It's snow. There's
oh
snow
yeah,
at the
yes,
church. So there's snow at the church, and then so like we can't get married there. So her dad makes this wedding at the store, the general store.
yeah.
And it's
Which
just,
again at the end, see, this is where like I said, this is where it all kind of goes downhill a little bit because okay, there's so much snow, like the roof caves in. I'm like, okay. And then they still get married but like the whole point was for her to get married in this church, and now she's not even getting married in the church. I was
yeah.
thinking they were going to pull a whole when calls the heart fiasco. I mean, if Hope Valley in 1915 can rebuild a church in 24 hours after a fire,
Yeah.
I'm sure you can clean up
Well, and even in Father of the Bride, when it snows, and it says, well, the good thing about snow is it's white, it's on theme.
Oh, that's true.
See, they could have just said that.
Yeah.
It's on theme. But it says, I could never get tired of you. And so then they get married, and then there's like this nerdy kind of dance at the wedding.
The dance, yes,
So.
which very much reminded me of Princess Diaries when they're doing the robot.
Yeah,
It's very
I
Princess
see that.
Diaries. Yeah,
I could see that.
But,
so there we go. I would give this one 2.5 for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's so hard because I'm like, do I look at this by itself? Do I look at this among others? I mean, 2.75, 3 out of 5. I mean, again, I didn't hate it. I was entertained. I didn't fall asleep. I wasn't bored, but it wasn't perfect, you know? So that's kind of where I fall at this one.
Yeah, I think
I did like the friends, by the way. The bestie.
Yeah, they were
I thought they
fun.
were fun. Yeah.
Yeah, they were fun.
Yeah.
So there we go. That is To Have and To Holiday. And so there we go. And A Novel Noel. So let us know if you're listening what you think about these two movies. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. And Kaycee, where can people follow you and everything you're doing? Deliver Me a Podcast.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Kaycee, Kaycee __ Simpson. You can also follow the podcast, Deliver Me a Podcast, on Instagram and wherever else we are, Facebook, X, Threads, whatever. But yeah, we are doing the little fun mini recaps because that's all we have time for. And it's been fun. It's been a good change.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure that you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod, Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really, really helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We really, really appreciate that. And check out our patron group. We have monthly patron events that are really fun that any level tier of patron can participate in. This month, we have Julie Sherman Wolf doing a Q&A. So if you want to find out about the behind the scenes of the Chiefs movie, of many other movies that she's been involved in, then that's going to be a cool opportunity. So that's the kind of things we give for the patrons. Please check it out. And then we have our merch store where we have new holiday movie inspired designs. We've got Home Alone. We've got Christmas Story. We've got It's a Wonderful Life. I already said Home Alone. We've got Die Hard, all that fun stuff. Please take a look. I think you'll really enjoy it. So check that out. And thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.